Everybody, welcome to earnings report, Livevol earnings report. Basically, this is where I go over some of the earnings that are coming up and see if there's some opportunities, and if there are, I'll put on some trades or something. So, just for you guys who have been listening to the video blog, I usually do one per day, and that's trading with Livevol. But today there's going to be two. So if you're listening to this and you're expecting trading with Livevol, just look down on the community page, and then there is that CBS logo, and that's trading with Livevol. But I'm going to do earnings report at Livevol as well, and let's actually go to it. So AMGN has earnings today after the market, right? So I was looking at the stats. And basically, and I'm pointing this out because most of the earnings are going to be like this. So I look at it, I look at the vol, it's only like 60. The trades are mixed, calls and puts are equal. I look at the chart, and basically it's bullish. So, you know, if anything, I know if it was like down at 112, I might be interested in selling some put spread. But just in general, there's nothing here, right? So when I see that, I just move on. Next one is CREE. Same thing, I go to the stats tab, right? I see calls and puts almost equal. IV30 is 74 percentile, right? So if I look at it for a year, it's like, you see how every earnings it goes up and down. You know, the chart looks, I don't know, looks like it's kind of coming off the bottom. I used to trade CREE a lot. I was shorted a while back. This was way back, because I thought it was going to go down, and all it did was go up and basically crushed me. But anyway, if you just look at this, basically nothing is pointing out to me. So I haven't followed CREE in a long time. You know, obviously they're doing something right, but yeah, there's nothing there. Discover Financial Services, right? 65 calls. You see how they're paying 45 cents, most likely a buy. Buying the 5260 call, strangle. Right. So basically, if I look at the Discover, and I'm sorry I didn't load this up, but basically if you look at the earnings report, this is expected currently to move 2.8%. And in the past 12 earnings, it moved 2.4%. So basically, you know, nothing much. It's kind of going up. Let me actually put it on this. Yeah, so you know, so it's similar to Amex and maybe MasterCard and Visa, which, you know, the earnings are mixed. It wasn't like spectacular, so maybe people are making some bets here, right? But the 60 level, you know, May 60s. Can't tell, and then most of them are these, and let me actually look at what's going on here. So like you see how it's increasing. So let me actually check the last couple of days. So what I did was I clicked on the at the money strike, right? And then here you have this blue line, that's the open interest. So the first thing I kind of look at when I open up this little page is I see the volume, and then I see if the open interest is increasing or decreasing, right? Because every volume, is that adding to that open interest or subtracting? And you see there have been pretty decent volume for the last 5 days on the July 65 call. So what I do then is I go to the charts tab and actually start working myself back, right? So this is 45 cents. This actually looks like kind of like it was buying. But if you look at April 21st, it was a sell. April 17th looks like it was a sell. April 16th looks like most of it was a sell. So even though it's so the past, my thinking is the past X number of days, they've been just selling this, right? And if I look at the chart here, it looks to me that basically what people are betting on, let me actually go back to make sure I got the right option. The July 65 calls, so they don't think it's going to go higher than here in the next couple of months, right? So this is April. You'll have May, June, July. So you'll have 3 more of these little ones, and people are saying it's not going to go above 65. And if you look at this like band, it's traded within this Bollinger Band pretty tightly. So you can kind of see maybe the 60 is the upper range, right? The issue is like how much of the premium is this going to eat up? But and this company, if you look at the fundamentals, 27 billion. So it's a decent sized company, but sometimes when it comes to smaller companies, you always have some risk of takeover, right? So it's not like completely safe, but you know, maybe you can do this trade or something. But I kind of like it, so I'm gonna try to sell. I'm not gonna sell a lot. I'm just gonna sell 1 lot at 40. So I'm working that. I'll see how that goes. I like the percentages, but it's not that great, so I'm not gonna bet a lot on it, right? Gilead. Let's check it out. Stats. All right, little calls to puts. Nothing much. Most of these, if you guys saw AMGN, they're kind of on the rise, right? So I don't know. I'm like when I see charts like this, I'm kind of tempted because you know they're pretty similar. They're gonna move together, right? So you see how like it had a pretty hard bounce. This actually looks like it's gonna go higher. That's at least how I look at it technically. In terms of you know, basically it's at the 64, so it's not that high. And you know, people bought some 22 puts in January. I mean, that's nothing, right? So basically the order flow is pretty tame. I look at it, it's like so Gilead, yeah, it's predicting a 4.4% move on the stock, and basically 4.4% is how much it moved the past 12 quarters, right? So 12 earnings cycles. So if you ask my personal opinion, I would be willing to sell puts on Gilead and AMGN, but really there's nothing here that really is screaming at me to sell anything, right? So if I actually look at the software itself, I would do nothing. Maybe if I saw technical, I'll sell some puts, but you know, technicals, you can almost throw them out at earnings. It's not as important. People are going to react to whatever the news is, the earnings report, and not so much like no one's going to care about the technicals, right? So that being said, there's nothing in Gilead, there's nothing in AMGN that basically screams out any one direction or another. If I look at the chart, technically it looks bullish. I'll leave it at that. All right, Hawaiian Holdings. I think they're all right. So Hawaiian Airlines. I didn't want to speak up and then find out it's not correct. All right, so I see stats. All right, so I see a lot of calls, so this is kind of interesting. So yeah, 120. Maybe they're selling some of these. right? So there are more calls than puts, obviously, and they're basically buying them, right? It's pretty high vol, 77. And if you look at the chart, it has this U shape, so it looks like it's on an uptrend. The volatility is pretty high. So this might be maybe a decent issue to, let's see. So let me actually look at it. Okay, so it's predicting a 7% move on the stock, these options, and in the last 12 quarters, it moved 6.4%. So let's see what this is. 40. Yeah, so people are selling these puts, and they're essentially, you know, maybe buying these calls or selling the calls. But if I, let's see, if I bought this spread, let's see what this price is out. Right, and then I sell this. So I think I'm going to do this. Let's see, if I lose $1.12. So I'm trying to figure out what my max loss here could be if I'm not careful. Yeah, so maybe I'll drop to 12 if it's really bad, right? If it's good, maybe I'll go to 15 or something. Right. Sorry for taking this one, but I'm actually trying to think. So, okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I want to buy these calls, the 13 calls. These are essentially like buying stock, right? So if I buy these calls and sell this put, synthetically, it's exactly the same as buying the stock itself, right? It has the same exact risk-reward parameters, right? So if I do it for 42, 17, 83, so this is saying I'm doing it for 83 and then selling this for 65 cents, right? So I like it, so I'm going to do it 10 times. Maybe I'll pay a little bit more. Okay, so basically what I'm putting on is like a pseudo buy right going into earnings. So I'm putting on, I'm essentially buying stock at this price and selling these calls at like 67 cents. So I'm trying to do that. And why I'm doing that is because the volatility is relatively high, and it's saying it's going to have a great large movement, like 7%, which is slightly higher than the average, right? Actually, you know what? I'm going to modify it to 5 contract. Try to actually stay within some kind of risk limit here. So basically, I'm doing that because I think the most I can lose. So see how I paid 16 cents, but what's going to happen is if it goes down to 12, I'll probably lose 500 bucks, right? So that's my risk, because that's what I think could happen. So in Hawaiian Airlines, and I like to put this trade on. So one thing for you guys to understand is I'm not just putting this trade on just because I saw this, right? So if you guys been listening to me, I was kind of bullish on the airlines just because I was telling you from my personal experience when I'm traveling, what I go through, and they're basically squeezing every penny, and they're consolidating, and which kind of seems like they're gonna have a good year unless like something crazy happens, right? So if this massive snowstorm during the winter can't hold these guys down, it's going to be tough to hold these guys down, in my opinion, at least for next short term, right? So I'm biased to the long side on these airlines anyway, and the fact that I'm doing this trade is essentially a buy right trade, or you can see it as selling puts, right? So I'm actually like selling these puts. What am I selling them for? I guess I can almost sell the 14 puts at 80 cents. That's almost like 85 cents or something, right? It's almost the same thing. Because, and you know, I couldn't explain it, but basically, just to put it simple, if you do a buy right, whatever strike you're selling, you're short. So I'm trying to do it for 84 cents. And the fair value is 82, so I most likely won't get filled. For those of you guys who I just talked and it just flew over your head, it's like one of the chapters in Natenberg that you have to read. But essentially, by buying the calls and selling the puts and selling these calls, essentially what I've done is sold these puts, if that makes sense. I'm trying to do it for 84 cents because I'm trying to collect 16, right? I won't go into some class. You guys can figure it out. Maybe ask some expert that you guys know. But I'm going to do that, or essentially I'm going to try to sell these 14 puts, whichever works. Either way, I think it's not too bad. Commission-wise, it's probably easier to sell these puts. Let me actually try to work that. So I'm going to click on this to see if it's 8 lot traded for 85 cents, so it might not be bad. So I'm going to actually kill this trade. And I'm going to sell this in the money put 5 times for 85 cents. So we'll see what happens. It's the same trade. Okay, next one, IGT. So these international gaming technology, they do like slot machines, right, at the casinos and the poker machines. The thing that's a little unusual is these calls that they're buying, and the earnings are basically today after the close, right? So you see how this is increasing in open interest. I'd look at the 15s, and they're also increasing. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I haven't followed them in a long time, but it's pretty bullish, right? They're just buying like naked calls, right? So this is monthly. Maybe it's saying 14 is the bottom. If you look at the dailies, you know, it has a little upswing. But like I said, it's earnings again, and it's not something, you know, the charting isn't as important. But what is kind of intriguing is that they're loading up on these calls, right? And they're like, one is in the money and one's out of the money. So if you look at the stats, basically it's at the 34th percentile, which is pretty low. And look at all the slew of buying of the May 14 and 15 calls, right? So you know, people are definitely thinking it's bullish. So how high can it go? Well, IGT is pegged to move 3.4%, right? 3.4%, and average it moves 6.6%. So on the average, it moves twice as much as whatever the prediction is right now. So maybe this trade isn't too bad. But you know, in the end, I don't know. I am not sure what to do. Normally, I think I'll be tempted to just kind of like, I don't know, maybe do a spread here, right? For better than 40 cents, and then I can make 2 to 1 on it, right? So I'll actually put that in so you guys can see. So if I bought this and sold this, right? You see how it's 35 cents? I can make a max of Do 2 lot. Right, so I'm basically taking a 2-to-1 shot if both of these are call buying, right? The thing is, I don't know if they're selling stock either, but that's what I would put up. Let's look at Juniper. And I'm only, there's like hundreds, actually not hundreds, maybe 100 on this list, but I'm only talking about these few. You can actually subscribe to it and you can get the whole list. But usually I'm only going to kind of talk about stuff that kind of pertains to my interest. So if you look at it, they basically are buying these calls and selling the puts, right? July 29. Let's see. July 29. Right. So you see, so this is, I'm going to backtrack what I did. So basically, I went to time and sales. I clicked on the underlying, and then I basically typed in like 20,000 contracts or more. You see this Juniper trade at 1234, right? For 225,750 contracts. Right? They paid $25.96, and it was a derivative trade, right? 1234.06. If you look at the stats tab, basically 2 minutes after they did this trade, they did this trade. So essentially what he did was he bought the calls, sold the put, right? And then basically sold stock. So he's actually making, it's essentially a put spread, because basically he's short the 23 put and long the 29 put, right? So let's actually look at the chart here. Right, so he's saying that it's going to go down to 23, and he's doing the 29-23 put spread in June, right, which is in July, which is not, maybe they're going to have bad earnings, right? So that's what he's betting on, and he thinks it's going to go down in the next few months, right? So let me actually see what price he did it at. So if he did it for 44 cents, and the stock was for 47, 29. Sorry, I'm actually trying to do the math here right now. 29.47, 26, 450, 350. Right, so he paid around 350 for these, and then he sold these for what? 44 cents. So he basically did the 29-23 put spread for $3. Let me actually pull that up. Right, so he did it for like $3. I don't mind doing this one, but I think I would rather sell something else, right? Yeah, there isn't much. Yeah, so there might be, like, I was thinking like maybe buying a strike lower and selling some other strike. Let me look at the volatility. It's 42. It's not that high, right? But let me actually, I'm gonna put his trade in there, But I'm going to try to do it for $2.95. I'll try to do it for $3. I'll send the order. If I get filled, I get filled. If not, I don't get filled. But it's not a big deal. So that actually, I got one more. Delta. All right, so Delta also has earnings. And when I look at the stats, basically it kind of calls outweighing the puts. But if you look at all the big trades, it's not necessarily bullish, right? If you look at the chart, it kind of is bullish. But like I said, we won't know until they announce earnings. My guess is maybe it won't be as bad as people think, and they might actually get an uptick. So, I already kind of have something going on in Hawaiian Airlines. So the delta, it's not as convincing to me, because the percentile is lower. If I look at it, it's predicted to move 3.6%, and average-wise it moves 4.3. So it moves 3.6, average moves 4.3. Hawaiian Airlines moved an average of 6.4%, and it's saying it's going to move 7%. So I like that one better. And that's it. So just a quick recap. Basically, let me see what I'm working here so you guys know. So I like the Juniper for $3. I'm doing the IGT spread, right? The 14-15 spread for 35. I'm selling the May 14 puts in Hawaiian Airlines for 85, and I'm actually trying to sell one lot of Discover credit card at 40 cents, or Discover Financial, right? The 65. So these 4 trades right here is what I'm trying to do, and these other trades were from my last video. So here you go. These are the 4. There's a lot more, but obviously, each and every one of us are going to kind of gravitate towards stocks that you're familiar with. Some like energy stocks, some like, maybe tech stocks, but whatever it is, basically this earnings report is pretty awesome. So let me actually go to it. So this earnings report right here, you can subscribe to it. It's pretty awesome. It'll tell you everything that's happening. And here is my trading with Livevol, and I'm going to put up my next trade or next blog, which is earnings reports. I'll put that up right after I get done with this. Other than that, good luck on all your earnings trades, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.